The auditorium was buzzing with excitement. Families cheered, cameras flashed, and graduates adjusted their caps nervously, trying to hide both pride and anxiety. I sat in my seat, robe on, tassels swinging slightly, scanning the crowd for familiar faces. My heart raced. I expected my family to be there. I hoped they would. But the seats reserved for them were empty. At first, I thought maybe they were late. Maybe traffic. Maybe something happened. But as the principal called names, one by one, I watched classmates' parents hug them, clap, and take endless photos. My stomach twisted with a knot of disappointment I hadn't felt before. Nobody showed up. Not Mum, not my younger sister, not Dad, not even the relatives, who were supposed to be cheering me on. I swallowed hard, forcing a smile for the camera when my name was finally called. I walked across the stage, shook hands with the principal, accepted my diploma, and heard the crowd clap politely. But I could see the glaring absence of my family. Every step felt heavier than the last. Each click of my shoes against the stage echoed like a reminder that I was completely alone in that moment. I wanted to shout. I wanted to cry. I wanted to storm out and leave the whole place behind. But I held it together. I couldn't let the humiliation win. Still, as I posed for pictures, I felt the sharp sting of betrayal. It wasn't just about missing a ceremony. It was about feeling invisible to the people who were supposed to care the most. After the ceremony, classmates and friends surrounded me, offering hugs, photos, and congratulations. Their joy was real, but it made the empty spaces at my family's reserved seats even more painful. I left the auditorium holding my diploma, trying to smile, trying to act like it didn't matter. But deep down, I knew something inside me had shifted. I thought about all the times Mum asked for money, all the times my sister was celebrated for things I had no part in, and all the small, invisible moments where I was overlooked. It wasn't fair. Not even a little bit. And suddenly, sitting there in the empty parking lot, staring at my car, I realized I couldn't let this continue. I couldn't keep letting them manipulate me or treat me like I didn't matter. That day, graduation wasn't just about finishing school. It was the day I decided to stop being invisible. The day I decided that if my family wouldn't show up for me, I would have to take control of my own life. I didn't know exactly how yet, but one thing was certain. I wasn't going to let anyone take advantage of me again. The shock of an empty auditorium lingered in my chest, heavy and cold. But under that shock, a tiny spark of resolve was growing. I could feel it, quiet, but unstoppable. Something had to change. And I knew, somehow, I was the only one who could make it happen. A few days after graduation, I was finally starting to breathe again. The initial sting of nobody showing up still throbbed in my chest, but I kept myself busy catching up on sleep, chatting with friends, and trying to enjoy my first taste of freedom. That's when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Mom. Need $2,100 for your sister's sweet 16. As soon as possible. Thanks. I stared at the screen. My eyes widened. My jaw tightened. $2,100? For a party? For her? I'd just graduated. Nobody came to my ceremony. Not one person. And now, out of nowhere, the first thing she asks for, after I accomplish something huge, is money for my sister. I felt my fingers tremble as I typed, and deleted responses over and over. Part of me wanted to write a scathing reply. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But I knew that if I responded, it had to be clever. It had to send a message. Finally, I typed, $1. Congrats. I hit send, and just like that, I felt a strange mix of triumph and guilt. I had acknowledged her request, but I wasn't giving in. I wasn't letting her take advantage of me anymore. That single dollar wasn't just money, it was a symbol, a quiet rebellion, a statement. I would no longer play by their rules. The hours that followed were tense. I imagined Mum seeing the message, probably fuming, probably pacing, probably drafting angry texts that she would never send. I imagined my sister asking why her party wasn't fully funded, and Mum snapping at her. I imagined every reaction, every argument that could erupt, and I didn't back down. For the first time, I felt control over my own life. I didn't have to live under Mum's constant demands or her manipulative guilt trips. Every text I'd received over the years, every time she hinted that I owed her something because she gave birth to me, felt irrelevant. Now, I was free. But freedom, I realized, comes with consequences. Mum was not going to let this slide quietly. I could feel it in my gut. The quiet, after sending that $1 message, was heavy, with unspoken tension. Something bigger was coming. I just didn't know what yet. And as I sat there, staring at my phone, I realized that the small spark I felt at graduation had grown. I wasn't just frustrated anymore. I was ready to take action. I was ready to set boundaries, to draw lines, to make them respect me even if it meant causing chaos. In the calm that followed, I made a decision. I wasn't going to just respond with words. I was going to do something bigger, something permanent, something that would finally make them understand that I was done being manipulated. I didn't tell anyone yet. Not my friends. Not my teachers. Not even my own reflection in the mirror. But deep down, I knew my next move would change everything. The day I decided to change the locks felt heavier than any other day in my life. I could still feel the echo of the empty seats at graduation and the sharp sting of Mum's $2,100 text. That single dollar I sent felt good, but it wasn't enough. I needed action. Something permanent. Something that would make them understand that I would no longer be pushed around. I went to the hardware store, bought new locks and keys, and drove home with my heart pounding. Every step I took in that house felt different. This was the place I had grown up, the place I had shared countless memories with my family, but it had also been a place of constant demands, guilt trips, and unfair treatment. Now, it was about to become mine. I started with the front door. I removed the old lock carefully, silently, as if any noise could alert someone to my plan. Sweat ran down my forehead. My hands shook slightly. It wasn't the physical work that scared me. It was the thought of the confrontation that would come later. I imagined Mum discovering the change, shouting, accusing, maybe even threatening. But for the first time, I didn't care. I was ready. As I installed the new lock, I thought about my younger sister. She didn't understand boundaries yet. She had never been denied anything. She probably assumed the world would always give her what she wanted. I wanted her to see that life wasn't about entitlement, that actions have consequences, and that she couldn't always rely on others to do everything for her. By the time I finished, the house felt different, not just physically, but emotionally. The air inside seemed sharper, clearer. I had done something I had thought about for years but had been too afraid to attempt. Now it was done. The power dynamic had shifted. The house was mine, at least in a small way, and I finally felt a strange mix of relief and fear. The silence after that was almost deafening. I imagined Mum trying the door later and realizing she couldn't just walk in whenever she pleased. I imagined her sending furious texts, pacing, plotting her next move. The thought of her reaction made my stomach tighten, but also made me feel alive. For the first time, I was not just reacting to her manipulations. I was setting the terms. Later, I peeked out the window and saw neighbors going about their day, oblivious to the storm brewing inside my home. I knew it wouldn't stay calm for long. Mum wouldn't give up easily, and my sister would complain, and maybe even Dad would get involved. But I didn't regret it. For the first time in years, I had taken control of my life, my home, and my choices. That night, I sat in my room, listening to the quiet hum of the house. The sense of empowerment was exhilarating, but deep down, I knew that changing the locks was just the beginning. Something bigger was coming, consequences I hadn't fully imagined yet. And yet, I didn't flinch. For the first time, I felt that I could face whatever came next, because I had finally drawn a line. It started with a knock at the door, not the casual knock of a neighbor or friend, but a firm, official sound that made my stomach flip. My heart raced as I walked to the door and peered through the peephole. 2 uniformed officers stood there, their expressions serious, not friendly. I opened the door cautiously, trying to steady my voice. "Can I help you?" "Are you the resident here?" one of them asked. "We received a report of a lock change and a dispute with family members." I froze. My mind raced. This was it, the moment when my small act of rebellion had drawn real-world consequences. I could feel the tension thickening, pressing against my chest. I took a deep breath. Yes, that's me. I changed the locks, I admitted, trying to keep my tone calm. The officers exchanged a glance. Can you explain the situation? So I told them everything. About graduation, about Mom and her constant demands, about the $2,100 text for my sister's party, about feeling invisible and ignored for years, and how this was the first time I'd taken control of my life. I kept my explanation simple, honest, and straightforward, hoping they would understand my perspective. Meanwhile, I could hear movement behind me, the sound of Mum's voice on the phone, probably complaining to someone, probably planning her next step. My sister's voice floated down the hallway, confused and frustrated. They were both furious, and I felt a flicker of satisfaction, mixed with nervousness. The officers listened patiently, asking questions but showing no judgment. They wanted to ensure nobody was in danger, and that the situation didn't escalate. I could feel the weight of the moment. For the first time, my actions were being scrutinized by someone outside the family. The stakes were real. After what felt like an eternity, one of the officers finally spoke. We understand your frustration, but changing locks without notifying anyone can lead to misunderstandings. We just need to make sure everyone's safe. I nodded, relief washing over me. They weren't taking sides, but they weren't condemning me either. It was a small victory. I had faced the consequences of my actions head-on, and still felt empowered. Mum stormed into the room, her voice high and sharp. This is unbelievable. You can't just lock us out. This is my house too. I stayed calm. No, Mum. This is my life, and I can't keep being treated like I don't matter. Now, the officers observed quietly, a silent reminder that my choices had limits, but that standing up for myself wasn't wrong. By the time they left, the tension had shifted. Mum was angry, but I felt stronger. My sister was upset, but I had planted a seed of understanding that life isn't about entitlement. And I knew, deep down, that the road ahead would only test me more, but I was ready. For the first time, I realized that independence came with confrontation, power came with responsibility, and sometimes you had to face the storm you created to finally feel free. The house felt different that morning, quiet, tense, but in a way that was mine. After the cops left the previous day, I could sense a shift in the air. Mum's anger simmered, my sister's confusion lingered, but I felt a strength I had never known before. For the first time, I realized that taking control came with responsibility and power. Mum paced the living room, her voice sharp and unrelenting. You can't just lock us out. This is ridiculous. How dare you treat your family like this? I took a deep breath, keeping my voice calm, steady. Mum, I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm trying to make things fair. Nobody came to my graduation. And now, you expect thousands of dollars for my sister's party. I can't keep living like this. She stopped pacing, stunned for a moment. The reality of my words hung between us, heavy and undeniable. You think this is about fairness? You think money is the problem? She snapped. I shook my head. It's not about money. It's about respect. I've been invisible for years. Ignored, used, manipulated. I can't let that happen anymore. I have to stand up for myself. For a long moment, silence filled the room. My sister peeked from behind Mom, unsure, hesitant, realizing perhaps for the first time that life didn't always revolve around her. Even Mum's anger softened slightly, not completely, but enough that I could feel a crack in her control. The day stretched on, tense but strangely peaceful. I didn't back down. I didn't apologize for my boundaries. The house felt safer somehow, as though the walls themselves recognized the change. I had drawn a line, clear and permanent, and it couldn't be crossed without acknowledgement. By evening, Mum sat on the couch, exhausted from the day's arguments. I guess I didn't realize how serious you were, she muttered, almost quietly. You really mean what you said? I nodded. Yes, Mum, I do, and I hope you can respect that. Not just for me, but for all of us. Boundaries don't mean I don't love you. They mean I love myself too. My sister wandered over, curiosity and reflection written across her face. So, you're not just doing this to be mean? No, I said softly. I'm doing this so we can all have a better life. One where respect comes first, not money or appearances. The room felt lighter, though the lessons were far from easy. Change wasn't instant, and some wounds would take time to heal. But for the first time, I felt truly seen, truly respected. The tension that had clung to me like a shadow finally loosened. As I looked around the living room, I realized something powerful. Independence wasn't about fighting alone. It was about standing firm, making your voice heard, and trusting that fairness and respect would follow. That day, I had taken control of my life, faced the storm, and emerged, stronger than ever. I wasn't invisible anymore, and for the first time, I knew that no matter what came next, I could handle it. Thanks for watching. Tell us in the comment section where you are watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more.